Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Melissa Banks Show. I'm Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us for today's program. Have a great one today with Melissa Banks. It's kind of become a series with us. Hello to you. Appreciate you being on with us. For those who are just new to us here on IG Live, Melissa Banks and I host this weekly segment, sharing you guys some great tips on business. There is Melissa going to go ahead and bring her in. We had a great conversation last week that we're going to kind of be piggybacking off of this week. Actually, the last couple of shows have kind of run into one another. If you guys do have any questions for Melissa, we'll be letting you guys get those in. Hello to you, Melissa. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
Doing amazing. Great to see you as always. I was just telling them we have another great show for you today. But before we get into that, again, we welcome everyone in. Thank you so much for being on with us. If you guys have not done so already, two things I want you to be aware of. If you notice right here, there is a drop-down arrow right here. If you hit that drop-down arrow, if you're not following me, if you're not following Melissa, you can do it right from here, and you don't have to even leave the stream anymore to be able to follow us. So we appreciate if you will give us both a follow there. Also, if you guys do have a question for Melissa, and she is not only an entrepreneur, a master event planner, but also sharing some great business tips, make sure you guys look below. There is a bubble with a question mark in. You can be able to write your question down there. If you put it in the comment section, we may see it, but it goes kind of quickly because when people are coming in. But if you guys do, if you'll notice, there is that bubble down with the question mark. Feel free to be able to put your questions in there. We'll make sure we bring them on screen and get those answered. First of all, Melissa, we're about to wrap up this month, about to wrap up this year. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling excited. I am excited differently than normal. I have so much anticipation. I have just grown so much this year. So I'm definitely looking forward to what 2022 is about to bring. So I'm excited.
Yeah, you have grown a lot. I can attest to that. And you have some great things coming up at the beginning of the year. But let's kind of catch people up here for what we've been doing here on the Melissa Banks Show. So Melissa and I come together here on Wednesdays at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That's 10:30 a.m. Central, to be able to answer your business questions, to be able to share tips on event planning, which is her expertise. Also, just tips on how to get started in business and even some things about life. Now, for the past couple of weeks, we've talked about a couple of things. For one, if you guys are looking to be able to throw an event, whether it's virtual, in person, or a hybrid of the two, Melissa shared some great tips about that. So we invite you guys to go and watch the previous episodes. Last week, had a really engaging conversation with Melissa about what to do when things don't work out. So Melissa, today we said we're going to talk about some resources. And I think, for each one of us, our journeys have been different. You and I have only known each other now about a year. Going on 2 years now. But it's been great to be able to watch you really take advantage of what's in front of you. So I want to talk about this. If our audience out there is looking to start a business in 2022, if they're looking to grow a business in 2022, take us back to your journey. When you made the decision that you were going to start your business, your event planning business, how did you go about getting the resources, and how did you know what you needed?
Okay, so first of all, when I started, it was over 20 years ago. I'm in Mississippi, so I had to get into the growth. So when I started, I thought, I love doing flower arrangements. That's what I'm going to start doing. Mm-hmm. And as I developed in that very early, I knew I wanted to do more. So I started, and because I have a training background, my first thing was get some credentials. All areas don't require credentials. Credentials just make you more marketable and make you learn more. So one of the things I did almost immediately, through some research, of course, was to join an association. I believe in joining organizations and associations in your industry, because that's where you connect with people. That's where you learn all the possibilities. That was a major step in the growth, the whole success of my business, the whole growth of my business was when I joined that organization, because what it led me to was how many different things that I could do in the industry. Mistake I made, though, is getting excited about all of it and trying to do all of it. So when I talk to people today, I tell them, figure out what it is that you love, pull that component out when you first get started so that you don't get so overwhelmed with all the different areas. But I started right there. I joined the Association of Bridal Consultants, and that led to so many other arms I also joined a local organization because you want to be a part of your local community as well. And so I joined a local community, Mississippi Bridal Association and Premier Bridal, because those are different organizations, some of the same people, but some different people, because you want to learn, right? You want to learn the industry you choose. You want to see what other people are doing so that you can figure out what it is that you want to do and what your specialty will be. And that's connecting with people and seeing what other people are doing.
Yeah. You mentioned 4 components there, Melissa, and I love that right out of the gate. So 4 things. I hope you guys caught these. I'm going to run back through them. The first thing that you heard Melissa said that she did was the research. And I think that is so important for one, because for one, once you've decided what industry you want it to be a part of, and for our audience, if you say you have a love of cars or food or whatever that thing is, to do that research so that you know that. But the second thing she did is she, as you heard her say, she connected with organizations. So that's part of the networking aspect of this. Because it's not just you trying to do your thing and feeling like there's nothing you can learn from other people. Networking and learning from other people in that industry and even other industries can be of assistance to you. Melissa, the third thing that you mentioned there is I heard you kind of go through the process there that I think is really interesting, and that is don't think you can do everything at one time. Because you can get information overload. I mean, you
Yes.
can get in a situation where you are taking in all of this stuff and you just think, okay, I'm just going to try to do it all instead of starting somewhere and then adding to it as you go. The fourth thing that you noticed that you said, Melissa, and you may not even thought about it when you said it, was that everyone doesn't have to look like you. I mean, you basically talked about being able to be in a diverse group. And again, I think that's an important thing as well, because I think a lot of times we do ourselves a disservice by thinking, oh, if this person is younger or older, or different nationality, different race, we can't get things from them, but that's only going to help us to expand our base. So just looking at those 4 components for a second, Melissa, because again, Melissa also does coaching. So we're going to remind you guys of that at the end of the broadcast here. But Melissa, do you find that the research was the most critical piece for you once you decided what you wanted to do?
Absolutely. The research was critical back then, 20 years ago, and it's critical now as my business grow, as I develop, as the environment changes. Research is your key. Research is also going to tell you who your audience is. Once you even get started, it's going to show you who are you talking to, who are you marketing to. It's going to show you what the experts are doing. I believe that you have to watch the experts. You have to watch people who are where you're trying to be. That's in your research. Research also can save you on the business side. We get excited with the emotions and the fun part of business, but there's a business side. You have to get registered. You have to follow tax guidelines. You have research also tells you what to do then. Back 20 years ago, that's how I learned a lot of what I had to do in order to make my business legitimate, because you want a legitimate business. So I had to do some research to find all of that out. Research is your key. But thank God we don't have to run around for it, right? You can get a coach, you can get online. There's so many places you can go today to get that information that you need.
Melissa, we celebrated 18 years of the radio this year. So year 19 will be for me. Next year, one thing in hearing you talk about, we didn't have social media when you and I both started. There were so many things that we did not have, and yet we were still able to get it done. I think both of us have talked about putting flyers on vehicles. We've done that, I was big on going to grocery stores and putting up on bulletin boards, people are like, what's a bulletin board? But anyway.
I know, right?
Because now we do it online, right? We have Pinterest. We have all these other ways to do things. But I bring that up for this reason, because you've been able to evolve. And that's important. How important has that been for you to evolve and not to say, well, no, this worked for me 20 years ago, and this is what I'm going to do today? How important has it been for you to use the principles that you got from the beginning, but then also utilize the tools in front of you to make the most of that?
It's been critical. It's why I'm sitting here talking to you right now. Because if I had stuck with, I started out saying that when I started my business, I was going to make flower arrangements and sell them, right? I set up at a show. I didn't sell anything, but I had some beautiful arrangements. So if I would say, you know what, I know this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to stick to doing it, none of the other stuff would have happened. Let's roll back just 2 years ago. When pandemic hit, I had a plan. for my business. But then pandemic hit, that wasn't part of my plan. So I had to adjust some things again. What if I had to say, no, I'm going to keep doing it the same way? I would be out of business right now. Part
Yeah.
of growth, part of leadership, part of entrepreneurship is being able to pivot, being able to make the changes necessary when it becomes necessary to do so. If you're stuck in your ways because you've been doing it for 20 years a certain way and you're not going to change, you're still going to be putting your flyers on those bulletin boards. Where would your business be right now? So you have to be willing to change and change the way your thoughts process. Plus you grow. So your purpose and your dream develops as the years go. So you have to be willing to change and learn those principles I had at the beginning. Research, learning from people who are where I want to be. Those things is still what keeps me going today. So you have to be able to grow. You have to be able to move forward if you want your business to move forward.
So true. Antoine, glad to see you. Deborah, thank you so much for the follow. For those who are just tuning in, you're watching the Melissa Banks Show with Melissa Banks. You see her down there. Today, we're continuing on our weekly episodes here on IG Live and now other platforms, giving you guys some business tips and strategies based on what Melissa has been able to learn and what she's been able to share also, not only as an entrepreneur herself, but also as a business strategist and consultant as well. We're going to let you guys know how you can stay connected with Melissa to be able to get her as a consulting for yourself, but also the events that she has coming up for 2022. We'll be reminding you of that as well. So, okay, so looking at those 4 components, I want to talk about the networking aspect again. And you and I have alluded to this before, Melissa, because I think this is, again, important. But you also said something key, and I actually just came through my mind. There's 5 things you mentioned. Because the 5th thing, let's do the networking, but then I want to come back to the 5th thing, which Melissa mentioned, was you have to know who you're talking to. You have to know who your audience is, which is an important part of any business, is your customer. Who is that person? But let's talk about the networking. How did that, because there are some people who look at this, I feel like, Melissa, and I'm curious as to what you think, I think they look at this the wrong way. They think if I'm with other people, especially other people who are above me, that's an opportunity for jealousy to creep in. How did you get to a place where you realized that was actually the opportunity for you to learn, but also to reach a new audience?
But you know what, Cyrus? I've always been the person that I wanted to learn from someone that was doing it already. I've shared this with you before, that I went into a business that was similar to the one I thought I was going to start, and she had a certification on her wall. I wanted to know how she got that certification. But she wasn't in the same place I was to be able to share that information. So that goes back to research and had to look it up. When I walk into a room of networking, I look around that room and I want to sit at the table with somebody that's pouring into the other people around the table, because that's where you get so much information. That's where you get growth. That's where you get inspiration, because I don't care what you're doing, you got to get some inspiration from someone. That's right. The table I want to sit at. That's the table. I went to a conference in California not too long ago. I was the only person from Mississippi. I was the only new motivational speaker in the room. Everybody else were experienced. I wanted to sit next to the person that had it, next to the person that had that energy, next to the person that I was going to be able to glean from. As I've grown, sometimes I'm that person. If I'm at the table, I am going to be pouring into the people at the table. I run into people all the time that remind me that they sat at a table that I was at a conference, and I helped them move forward in their business. So you give and you get when you go to a networking event. Some people think it's just about exchanging business cards. That's not what it's about. Of course, you want to get to know people. You want to be able to connect with them after, but it's about pouring into people and people pouring into you in your industry and outside of your industry.
Yeah. I love what you said, the give and take there, Melissa. I think that's an important, I'm the same way. I tell people I don't need to be the smartest person in the room, because if I'm the smartest person in the room, it's probably in the wrong room.
Exactly.
wait a minute, Melissa, you weren't supposed to.
I'm sorry.
I didn't need you to co-sign. It wasn't a co-signing moment there. Okay.
Oh, okay.
But no, seriously though, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want someone that I can learn from, that I can be able to look at and say, wow, I want to be able to learn, not to be that person. I did have to learn the difference in that though.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn the difference of wanting to be that person, which is impossible. You'll
Right.
never be able to be somebody else. But I wanted to be in a position like that person. That's
Right.
what I wanted, because I wanted to be myself. And I think that's the thing. So we talked about that, the importance of the networking aspect of it, Melissa. So let's talk about the audience. Because again, like you said, you have to know who it is you're trying to reach. I think this is a thing that I don't think we always, as entrepreneurs, I'm going to speak generally, not everyone is like this, but I think that's the component we don't think about a lot. Or think about enough. Maybe I should say that, because I think a lot of times people think, well, because I like this, if I do it, no matter who I'm in front of, they're going to like it. Instead of realizing you are not for everyone, which is why there's more than one toothpaste company. There's more than one dishwashing detergent company. You know, you're not for everyone. What was that lesson like for you to get for yourself, Melissa, that it was not your job to be all things to all people?
That is huge. That was huge for me, because when I began this journey, I didn't know that I was talking to certain people. I thought everybody was my customer, right? So it was a growth process. But once I got it, once I knew that there was a certain audience that was going to listen to me, there was a certain audience that was going to click on my post because they wanted to hear what I had to say. There was a certain audience that would hire me as an event planner over someone else that was out there. Once you determine, and I have to admit that I went to a coaching session. See, so many of us think we know it already and we don't need coaches, but the coach needs the coach, right? So I went to a coaching session and she said, let's identify your audience. And I was like, what do you mean? Because I thought everybody was my audience. I quickly learned, if you're selling to everybody, you're not really selling to anybody. We literally went through and identified who is liking your post, who is hiring you to do their jobs, who is hiring you to speak, who is listening to you coach, and identified my audience. That was light bulb moment for me. And it was also career changing, because I know who I'm talking to. I'm not just talking to a wide air. I know who is listening to me. That will change the game.
Yeah. Melissa, I'm curious though, in the pandemic, because what I have learned is, this has been such a great learning time for me, to be quite honest with you, in business. I have not changed. I am the same person. What I do has not changed, but it is interesting though for me, what I've seen in the past now almost 2 years, is that I am reaching a larger audience because the audience needs are changing. And so they're looking for someone who's doing what they now need to, because they're having to make, you and I have talked about pivoting. I don't think I'd realized until this year that the audience is pivoting too, because a lot of the things that they were used to doing, they're not doing anymore, can't do anymore. So they're having to find people who can do those things. For someone who's never thought about doing a virtual event, now that they have to make that an option, they're having to look for people who are doing that, which then opens the door for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you found that too, that even though you have realized what your niche is, that there are people who are coming in your niche that you had not thought would be customers of yours?
Absolutely. And another thing, Cyrus, that has changed in my world is the questions that they come to me with has now changed. The list of questions, I sat down with a couple Sunday, and the list of questions and what they were looking for and how they were managing their expectations of their event, all of that has changed because of what we just went through. They're looking for, and they asked for a virtual option at the beginning of the conversation. That never would have come up 2 years ago, right? So the questions are different. How people are getting their learning is different. I'm getting phone calls that go directly to virtual event planning, when not too long ago, it was a challenge in my area to talk to people about budgeting for event planners, period. So the conversation is different. The people that you're getting phone calls from is different. And the types of event I'm asked to be a part of is even different. I've gotten so many requests for virtual event speaking engagements. That's what they're coming with at the beginning, rather than a second thought. So they're thinking different. The customer is thinking different. So of course you have to be able to think different as well, so that you can draw those customers to you. That goes back again to knowing who you're talking to.
Exactly. Angela, glad to see you. Congratulations to you, Angela, on another great year. Hello to you, Peyton. Hope all is well with you. Peyton, congratulations to you as well. We have to reconnect real soon. Melissa, if you don't know Peyton Basnight, she is a very talented singer, songwriter, actress, just an amazing individual. Angela is also a great media host herself, and she's also in marketing and PR as well. So today, for those who are just tuning in, you're watching the Melissa Banks Show. That's her down there, though. We're talking to Melissa about some of the things. Basically, we didn't plan it this way, Melissa, but it really has become a series, right? I mean, we started off talking about how to get started in business. Then we went to, what to do when things don't always work out the way you plan. And then this week, we're talking about the beginning, about how you start. Whether you're looking to start your business in 2022, whether you're looking to restart your business, because a lot of people have been put on hold there, Melissa, whether you're restarting in 2022. Melissa is sharing with you some great tips. I want to run through the 5, and I'm so proud of myself that I remember all 5 of them.
I'm proud of you too.
In this 30-minute conversation. The first thing you heard Melissa say, and of course you can always go back and catch the replay, but the first thing Melissa mentioned is the importance of research. Importance of research. You have to be able to know what you're doing and what's all involved in that, especially in the new normal that all of us are a part of. The other thing that you heard Melissa talk about that is very important is the importance of networking. She talked about that, what it was like for her to be able to network with others. And I should say the third thing to connect with that is not only thinking you have to network with people who look like you, people who are the same age as you, the same nationality as you, being able to realize the importance of mixing that up. I think the other thing, of course, kind of going along with this too, the fourth thing is, of course, knowing who your audience is. Who's your audience? Who it is that you're trying to reach. Once you've done this research, realizing you're not going to be able to reach out to everybody. You're not going to be able to connect with everybody. But then, too, I think to go along with that, too, Melissa, the other thing that you mentioned about the audience is that audience may change, just like you're having to make changes. So kind of keeping that in mind as well. And the fifth thing, Melissa, kind of wraps all of this up for us together. And that is, I think that all of us are all coming together, and we all are having to learn from each other, not feeling though you're going to be the smartest person in the room. You shouldn't want to be, but realizing that you can learn from different people and different aspects, and also not thinking that you're going to be able to do everything. Because as Melissa said, in this process, a lot of things are going to come your way. A lot of information is going to come your way, not trying to do everything and not trying to be for everyone. So what advice would you give to Melissa, give to individuals, Melissa, about just those steps, just looking at those 5 components? And I think that will help them to not be stressed out, not to be overwhelmed, I think for sure. But I think also will keep the joy. Do you think that because you've been able to find that balance in that, that's what's kept you and your joy over the years?
Oh, absolutely, because otherwise you get totally overwhelmed with everything that's coming at you, all the different information that's coming at you, different changes in the world that's coming at you. You will get overwhelmed, and then you will stress, quit, which is, what I talk about all the time is making it through it without quitting. But you can manage that at the beginning. You can make lists of things that you need to do. You can schedule an hour consultation with someone that can help you put it in place, even if you just want that 1 hour. I encourage people to do at least that 1 hour so that you're not all over the place, because I promise you, if you try to do it alone and you're all over the place, it will cause you to be stressed out and you will quit. But once you get organized and you take the steps and you take each step seriously and you put in the work. So many people think it's glamorous to start a business. It's hard work. But if you put in the work at the beginning, you don't have to go back and redo like I had to do, because I was learning things the hard way. I didn't have somebody to pull it all together like you have now. So some things I had to go back and redo, but you can start organized. You can talk to the people who know how to do it and get you organized. Have somebody that's been there, that gets you going, that gets you motivated, and that makes you have some successes. Celebrate those small successes. You made a decision. You chose a business name. That's a celebration. Celebrate that and then go to the next thing and the next thing. But learn how to do it. The research is the key. And the second thing is, I would tell anybody, is to love it. Have a passion for what you decide to do, because making the money alone will not sustain you. You need to love love what you choose to do and have an answer to a problem that you're providing. All of those things are important. Work with someone to help you get them all in place.
Yeah. Melissa, I think we have to add this too as we're wrapping up, and it's always a pleasure being with you. We're going to let them know the 3 ways they should be able to know they can connect with you. But I think too, don't expect it to happen overnight. I think that is, I mean, I'm so glad that I wasn't smart enough to think that it was going to all just happen. I mean, for me, so I never put a timeline on it. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having goals. There's nothing wrong with saying by the end of this year, I want to do whatever I want to have achieved. I don't personally do that. Even financial goals for my business, I don't set those goals. Maybe I should. Maybe that's not the, the best business. But for me, I don't feel the pressure of that. I don't feel the pressure of, oh my goodness, I didn't reach. I'm a failure. To me, I look at it as a process, and I think for myself, that's what's helped me. Is that also something you've had to deal with yourself, Melissa, realizing that probably one of the worst things we can do is put a deadline or a timeline on when we should be successful at what we're doing?
Well, no, you said should be successful. I believe that you set goals, and I do believe that you have a measurable timeline when you set your goals. What is success for you? You have to determine that. For instance, I make lists, but my lists usually are very long, but I have stars beside certain items on that list that sets a deadline for when I want to complete that objective. So that's what I believe. I believe that if we get caught up with only long-term goals and dates, that sometimes when we miss it, it stops us right there. And that's not what you want to happen. I believe that's what you're saying. Right. So what I suggest is you have the long-term desires and goals, if you will, but you also have those mini ones along the way so that you can check them off. To me, the highlight of my day is when I look at my list and I see all those pink highlights on my sheet. That means I accomplished something. I like goals. I set goals. I set big goals because they make me work harder and they make me push forward. So you have to know yourself too. What makes you go? What works for you? What works for me may not work for you. Don't be a copycat. A friend of mine always says it's okay to be a copycat, just copy the right cat. But know yourself and do it the way that you works for you.
Yeah, such a great point. Again, everyone, Melissa Banks of the Melissa Banks Show, talking with us about what to do in getting started, and then, of course, keeping going. I think we should add to that as well. 3 things, Melissa, I want you to be able to share with them. First, how can they book their consulting with you?
1-hour consultation. Come with questions, some main points. We'll share some important information to help you get set up for success. You can go to themelissabanks.com, click book an hour consultation, and it'll take you right to the page for the information you need to book us.
All right. Second thing, your dream boxes are doing really well this year. Again, congratulations on that. How can our audience be able to get the dream box?
Oh, the Dream Box has been amazing. The Dream Box is an inspiration box that you can send to someone else just to surprise them at their door, or you can buy one for yourself. You simply go to themelissabanks.com, click on purchase a Dream Box. It takes you right to the website where you can complete your purchase.
All right. I'm sensing a theme here with that website. But the third thing, let's see if it's going to be 3 for 3 here, Melissa. So you have a virtual conference that's coming up in January. How can they find out more information about that and get their tickets?
Wow, we're so excited about the Imagine the Possibilities Conference. This is how you get set up for success for 2022 and your business, whether your business is a long-term business you're ready to push forward, or you're just getting started and you need some help. Go to themelissabanks.com. It's the very first link. Click on that link and all the ticket options will pop up for you and you can purchase your ticket right there. It's themelissabanks.com.
All right. Before we leave, Melissa, I want to say we had another Mississippian join us, Dr. Tommy Mabry. Tommy, man, congratulations to you on another amazing year. Do you know Tommy, Melissa?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Make sure, Tommy, that you follow Melissa. You can see up here at the top, if you click on that arrow, he's doing amazing things. He's an author, motivational speaker, just really doing some powerful things with kids, being able to empower and inspire them. So, Tommy, man, really excited about what you've been doing this year and excited about what's coming up for you. So keep up the great work for sure. Again, everyone, Melissa Banks of the Melissa Banks Show has been with us, sharing some great tips on getting started in your business. Make sure you guys do follow Melissa if you guys have not done so already. Hover right here. You guys can click that drop down arrow. Make sure you guys give Melissa a follow if you guys are not following me. If you're joining us here live, you can click that drop down arrow. You can make sure that you're following us there. And until next week, Melissa, as we're saying goodbye to 2021, hope you have a great one.
You as well.
And we thank you all for watching the Melissa Banks Show. Until next week, you all make it a great one. We'll talk soon. Take care.